our resident storyteller who killed it, set the stage on fire last time. Give it up for Arthur.
So, I'm going to talk, get comfy, it'll be a while. When I was 7 years old, my friend Dominic told me that he went all the way around on the swings, up and over 360 degrees, and I believed him. So a couple of days later, I found myself alone on the playground. I thought, well, if Dominic can do it, I can do it. And what I discovered is the moment you get beyond 90 degrees in the swings, even a little bit, as the swing slows, your centripetal force drops to zero and gravity doesn't. I fell, and I fell hard, and this being in England in the 70s, the local town council had felt that the appropriate surface underneath children's playground equipment was straight tarmac, as it would be educational. So I fell backwards, I hit my head on the tarmac, I sat up in incredible pain, perfectly timed to meet the swing on its return journey. The swing into the bridge of my nose left me with chronic, recurrent, spontaneous nosebleeds for the next 18 years. They would happen usually at the most inopportune time. The very first time I met the parents of my very first girlfriend in high school. Hi. That's not what I came to tell you about. That is the preamble. That is the backstory to what I wanted to tell you, which is the tale of how and why I got a back alley nose job. And I will preface this just to raise the dramatic tension of the evening by saying before I decided to tell this to you, I had to go online and look up the statute of limitations for insurance fraud in New York State, just to make sure I wasn't actually saying in public anything I could be prosecuted for. The limitations have expired, I got away with it, I'm going to tell you. So, I'm in my mid-20s, I'm living in a ratty third floor walk-up in Queens, New York, and I've just been dumped by one of two women in my life that I truly loved. She was the first. The second, I don't think I need to mention. You all have been around here, purple hair, definite attitudes about how things should be done. We've been together 25 years as of last June.
Yay!
Thank you. And she still makes my heart beat a little faster just by walking into the room. So we're good. But this was the first. I had been dumped, and I hit a low point. Really a low point in my life. I didn't like myself. I didn't like anything about me. I didn't care about myself. I didn't think I mattered. And at the time, I was working as a stunt performer in film and TV. It turns out not caring about yourself can actually have some advantages in the stunt industry. I know I'm meant to be talking about the surgery, and I will get there, but just one brief story, because some of you might actually know this. At the time, the #1 show on TV was Seinfeld, and they did an episode called The Cadillac. It was a 2-part episode, a special. It had Marissa Tomei in it as a special guest star, fresh from her Oscar win. When it was broadcast, 38.5 million Americans stopped what they were doing to watch this show. And there is a sequence in it where Kramer is being chased by a manic cable guy. There's a long chase sequence, and it ends with Kramer jumping from the roof of one building onto the roof of the next one to get away from this guy. That stunt was not planned. We shot that second unit. We had a double for Kramer. The intention was to film this double running up to the edge of the roof, looking down. We'd see a shot looking down at the alley. We'd see a shot of the manic cable guy running up behind him, and then it would cut and he would be on the other roof running away, and it was just implied. I was hired purely as a safety coordinator to make sure no one fell off the damn roof while we were filming. But we got to the location, and I looked at it between the two buildings. It was about an 8 to 10 foot gap. But the other building was about 20 feet lower, so that's a good arc. So I said to the producer, hell, I could just jump that. And she said, are you sure? I said, I would bet my life on it. 45 minutes later, I'm in the wig, I'm in the costume, and I'm in midair. This was not planned. We didn't have an airbag below, we didn't have safety lines, we didn't have an ambulance on standby. It was jump and make it or done. It was a free jump, and I'm in midair. I'm looking down 80 feet below me at this alleyway strewn with garbage, and I'm thinking, oh, I hope I was right. So my career was going well. And for the first time, I qualified for SAG health insurance. I thought, now I've got health insurance, I can get my nose fixed and stop these nosebleeds that I get. So I went to see a surgeon who was respected, qualified, board certified, hospital affiliated. He looked at the x-rays, he's like, yeah, you've got a deviated septum with a jagged bit, I can fix that. And I said, well, while you're in there at it, could you maybe make my nose a little smaller, a little narrower, maybe make me look better? Because in my head, I thought, if I can make my nose different, then I would look different. And if I look different, then I am different. And if I'm a different person, I might have some worth. And he said, no, that would be unethical. That would be insurance fraud. And I said, well, do you know anyone who would? After sort of hemming and hawing for a while, for a few minutes, he gave me a name of a doctor who was slightly less troubled by ethical considerations. And that was the guy I went to see. He did not work out of a hospital. He didn't work out of a medical clinic. He worked out of his apartment. He had turned the front room into a surgery by removing the carpet. And I am sitting in there on this exam table, and it was an old pre-war building, so the floors were those thin, narrow, hardwood strips with little gaps that had filled in with decades of dirt and grunge, and the walls were grimy and there was dust in all the corners. And I thought, well, this doesn't look hygienic. But I don't matter, so it doesn't matter. So I went ahead and we scheduled the surgery, and I came back a couple weeks later, and there wasn't any oxygen tanks or any sort of medical equipment. There was an anesthesiologist who wanted to be paid $75 in cash up front before he actually gave me anything. And he told me to strip from the waist up so that I didn't get any blood on myself or on my shirt, because they were going to do this sitting up. I said, wait, I'm not going to be out? And he said to me in this thick Russian accent, and I quote, oh, you'll be awake, but you won't give a shit. And my friends, Dmitri was right, because I spent that whole surgery cruising. The surgeon pulled out a medical chisel, put it in my nose, hit the end of it with a hammer, and I heard a crunch on the inside of my head. And I thought, that is the coolest thing ever. Oh my goodness. And I was trying to explain to the doctor how amazing it was to hear a crunch on the inside of your head. And as I'm talking to him, he's wearing a clear face shield, and it keeps getting little splatters of blood all over it, because there's blood pouring out of my nose as I'm speaking. And that's happening because I still have a chisel sticking out of my face. And as I'm talking, it is bobbing up and down. Oh my goodness, you wouldn't believe it. This crunch inside my head, it was so cool. Wobble, 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 wobble. He said, stop talking. Oh, I can stop talking. You want me to stop talking? I'll stop talking. I am the king of stopping. You tell me to stop talking, I will stop talking. Wobble, 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 wobble. Eventually, they got me to shut up for long enough to finish the surgery. And I would say it was a qualified success. I no longer have nosebleeds, but I don't think they changed anything. It doesn't look different to me. It looks completely the same. But that's okay, because that was never really the problem. And this side of my nose is completely numb, except for the tip here, which has been tingling for almost 30 years. So minor nerve damage aside, it seemed to work. But I like to think of that little tingle as being a constant reminder that in fact I do matter, and I'm glad I'm here. And maybe it's a reminder to all of us that next time you try and do something exciting and different, do it, but maybe hold on a little tighter, because I'm starting to think it's possible Dominic lied.
Give it up one more